Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Emin Salim and you're watching Alum Time. Today we have with us an alum who is stepping out of the OCR suite to sit down and chat with us about her time at Penn and experience since. She's a senior recruiter at one of the most esteemed global management consulting firms in the world, one many of you may aspire to join, McKinsey and Company. The name should be very familiar. We have with us Sherri Wasser. Welcome to the show, Sherri.
Thank you so much.
So, a lot of people believe that when they come to Penn or any other college, like they have to study what they really want to do in life. So they kind of have to study the subjects that they feel that they're going to go into professionally. What is your take on that? And how did you think about this when you came to Penn and in terms of choosing your majors?
So when I came to Penn, I had no idea what I wanted to do. My sister had graduated a few years before and she was in Wharton, and my father had owned a small business in Northeast Philadelphia. So I thought that business might be an option for me. So when I started, I took a few economics classes. I really enjoyed it, but then I realized pretty quickly that econ and math go hand in hand. And I did not enjoy that as much.
Okay, that wasn't your cup of tea.
I did not do well in it either. Okay. So I quickly had to change majors.
Okay.
And so I ended up in political science. And quite frankly, the only reason I ended up there was because the classes that I had taken were fit in well with political science. And I had no idea what I would possibly do with a political science major after graduating. If you would have told me that I would be a recruiter years later, I would have had no idea. I wouldn't even know what you were supposed to major in to get there.
Absolutely.
So I think an awesome lesson was it has nothing to do with really, for some people it's jobs, what you study in college. A lot of times it's more what you enjoy doing outside of the classroom, and that's how I actually ended up in recruiting along the way.
Okay, so you would say that the majors that you did were based on your passion and what you enjoyed studying rather than thinking about what you want to do later on.
Yeah, I would say it was more I had to fall into something, right? I had to graduate with something. It wasn't until many years later when I actually saw what I enjoyed doing outside of the classroom. I had a work-study job in the admissions office, and that was actually what really kind of shaped what I started doing after I graduated. So I went back to graduate school a few years later, and that's when I pursued really what I was passionate about, and that was higher education, and not so much what I thought I should be doing along the way.
Okay, so that makes sense. Usually people, when they go for their master's, they're more certain about what they want to do, and then they kind of go ahead with that.
Completely.
But for undergrad, you should probably you would say, just go with what you want to do.
I think so. I think there's a lot of demands on people to think very pre-professional when they come into Penn. And a lot of times it's really just a journey to figure out what you enjoy doing. And a lot of times that's not even a class that you take, right? It could be something outside of the classroom also.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Sherri, you would agree with this. Graduation is it's a big milestone. Big speeches at commencement and big dreams. Everyone has big dreams coming out of Penn especially. So, what was top of mind when you graduated? Where did you see yourself going, and how does that square with what actually happened?
Yeah, I just wanted a job when I graduated, right? So it was right around the time that the market burst, and a lot of friends were going back to school and really trying to figure out where they should truly end up. I was fortunate enough that I had a work-study job that I was very passionate about while I was here. I worked in the admissions office, and they actually offered me a job after graduating. If you would have told me that that would be kind of what impacted me the most and what really chose my course for me, I would have never known at the time. I thought it was kind of just a short stop before I figured out what I really like to do. So top of mind was getting a job and then just figuring it out along the way.
So it seems like your work-study job had a very nice impact during your time here at Penn. Do you want to elaborate a little bit about it?
Sure. Yeah. So I worked in the undergraduate admissions office for all 4 years while I was here. And at the time when I thought it was just going to be a way to make some extra money, my main job was actually taking Scantron forms and manually inputting little bubbles.
Oh, wow.
But it was more so what the office did as a whole that made me so interested and really kind of shaped my whole time at Penn. So I loved reading people's applications. I loved interacting with students who were trying to figure out where they were going to end up. I loved giving tours of campus and having people see it through my eyes for the first time. So when I would think about where I made the most impact while I was here, it was more so outside of the classroom than inside of the classroom. And I think that that's kind of just really a key takeaway that it doesn't need to be something in the classroom that, kind of makes your experience here. Absolutely.
So Sherri, looking back from now, when you were here as a student of Penn, what advice do you think you would give yourself?
I think just not to take myself so seriously. Like I always felt like I needed to make the right decision to get to the right place. And I don't even know if I knew what the right place was then, right? So things change so much. You kind of just have to roll with the punches. At the end of the day, everything's gonna work out and you're gonna end up where you're meant to be. I don't know any of my friends who are still in the same job that they were when they graduated from school. So I think people just put so much pressure on themselves when they, are in classes or graduating to make the right decision. And I just think that it's a journey to get there.
We have with us Serena Advani, who is currently a junior at Penn and the president of 180 Degrees Consulting. Welcome to the show, Serena. It's all yours.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and it's great to be with you today.
Oh, great to see you, Serena.
Yeah, so from what I understand, you've worked in recruiting for multiple industries, and I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about any of the themes that you've tied together working in each industry, and if there are any specific skills you've noticed that consultants look for specifically.
Sure. So I worked, like you said, in a variety of fields. I actually have recruited salespeople, I've recruited traders, I worked for a lot of different things. What I see more in consulting than other fields is you can come from such different backgrounds to be a consultant. We actually don't look for a specific major or specific skill set. It's much more, we look for like the impact that you've made and the challenges that you put yourself through. So while I learned a lot about recruiting from those other fields, in consulting it is very interesting because you don't need to check the box for things, right? Like you don't need to say it's a GPA of this or a major of this or this work experience. It's much more seeing the person as a whole and seeing what they can bring, more so what they were passionate about and how they can bring those passions to a consulting role.
Thank you so much, Serena, for joining us, and thank you so much, Sherri, for being on the show. It was a pleasure to have you.
Oh, it was great being here. Thank you so much.
So that's all the time we have on Alum Time. See you next time.